Hey guys, I've been wanting to do another video. I know I haven't been doing them a lot lately, but my last video has kind of inspired me to be a little bit more regular with my videos and my vlogs and stuff like that. And so I was thinking about what do I want to think of, or what do I want to speak about today? What could my next video be on? And then just a few moments ago, the answer hit me, and here we are. So today, what I want to talk about is empaths, empathy, and things that kind of go along with that. So, I guess if you're listening to this and you identify as an empath, you might not like or agree with a lot of what I have to say, but as always, it's just my opinions, my beliefs, my experiences. You don't have to. So I guess the first thing that I want to talk about is that within the past 10 years, the idea of an empath, or the word or the title, has become very popular, very mainstream. Every person, every business card, everyone is identifying as an empath. And I even see articles and quizzes on Facebook and the internet and things like that. And I guess on one hand, I understand what people are identifying with and what people are relating to. On the other hand, it's almost become kind of a fad. And so I guess I'll start with this. For me, empathy, being an empath, is nothing special. There's no need to call yourself that. There's no need to um, own this label because everyone is empathic. Empathy is a human quality. It's a part of human nature. It's a part of the human experience. And so, for people to run around saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm an empath. I'm an empath," it's almost like um, making a superpower out of human quality and human condition. Um, so you can empathize with someone else that doesn't make you special, and I understand that when a lot of people use that title or that terminology, empath, it's about I'm able to feel or sense what other people are feeling, and that's absolutely a legitimate experience. A lot of us do, especially those who are spirit workers, mediums, healers, clairvoyants, whatever. But it's an aspect of clairsentience, or the feeling aspect of what we do. Um, so that is something that kind of irritates me a little bit. But the other thing about it too is, so on that level, I completely understand it. That you feel what other people feel, but where it often leads to is that people are running around emotionally overwhelmed. They're running around with their nervous systems on high charge, on high alert. Their adrenals are taxed. They're fatigued. They are feeling like they can't. There goes my camera again. I often hear that they're feeling like they can't even go into public spaces because it's too overwhelmed to go to Walmart or the mall or a concert or those sorts of things. And I get it because I used to identify with that and I used to be there. If you would have asked me at 17 versus 28, do you consider yourself an empath? I'd say, oh my gosh, absolutely. I'm super sensitive. I take on other people's stuff. I'll take on other people's physical stuff. I don't like the big crowds. I remember one time when I was in my early 20s being in Vegas and just being so overwhelmed with everyone else's emotions, energies, addictions, feelings, all that sort of stuff, that I stayed for like 2 days in my hotel room and just sort of locked myself away in bed, just a nervous wreck because it was too overwhelming. But as I've grown and matured, I've realized a few things. So when we're talking about empathic stuff, it comes from the solar plexus. Okay, that third chakra, if you're into subtle anatomy or energetic anatomy. And the thing about it is, oftentimes, the people who are so overwhelmed that they can't go somewhere, or they don't like crowds and that sort of stuff, which, I can understand not liking crowds, but to the point where it's debilitating or interfering with their life, their experience, that sort of thing, it's because they lack boundaries. So those people tend to often lack boundaries on a personal level And that translates into lacking boundaries on an energetic, emotional, spiritual, psychic, whatever you want to call it, sort of level. So if you are the type of person who can't say no, if you are always doing for others, then that's going to be your experience on a psychic level. Um, and so if you feel like energetically you have a hard time with boundaries, or you can't separate yourself from someone else, or you're picking up other people's junk, or you're picking up other people's pain, first realize that that does not have to be the case. And on some level, there is, you're not going to like this, there is a codependent piece of you that is allowing it and accepting it. Because remember, nothing happens to us energetically, spiritually, psychically without our consent. If we're experiencing it, we're allowing it, be it conscious or subconsciously, we are allowing it. So the first thing is to really make a choice to not be affected in this way, to stop and say, what part of me is benefiting from this? What part of me is making myself feel different or special or unique because I have this ability or because I have this sensitivity? And then remember that it's not about you. And then remember that you're here to be of service, that you're here to be humble, that it's not about being in the spotlight, and reorient yourself. Reorient yourself. When I first stepped into the world of mediumship, the one thing that I heard was that you control spirit. Spirit doesn't control you. And what they mean by that is it's not that you are some necromancer out there conjuring spirits and making them do your bidding. It means that you are the one in the physical body. You are the vessel through which, we partner with the spirit world to be of service. So you are allowed to set the rules, the boundaries, and the guidelines of what, when, how, and where you are affected. And if that is not your experience, or if you don't believe that to be the case, I would encourage you to stop and reconsider, because this is your life. This is your life. You are in the body. You're the one who has to go through these experiences, and you either allow or don't allow yourself to be affected in the way that you choose not to be affected. And sometimes it takes time. So this is where grounding comes in, because these people who are overly empathic or overly empathetic, in addition to maybe having some codependent pieces or parts, they're not the most grounded people. So they're not solidly rooted, and that it's a contributing factor to these blurred lines, these blurred boundaries. And so these are the people who are clumsy, they're not in their body, their heads are off in the ether, they're sort of ADD in their mindset. They may lack concentration, they may be late, kind of scatterbrained. There's all sorts of things that go along with being ungrounded. But when I say get grounded, which is what one of my first teachers used to always say to me. She used to say it, and I used to hate it because she was like a broken record. Travis, get grounded, get grounded. Because remember, I was very new agey and very sort of off in the ethers with the rainbows and the angels and all that sort of stuff. And she would say, get grounded. And I thought, because it's what I read in my books, because that's all that I had to experience at that point in my life, was, okay, I need to stop and take a breath and close my eyes and then picture my feet becoming roots and going down into the earth and bringing light down and sending all that shit down into the earth. In a fix, can that help sort of stabilize and bring your energy, your awareness, your attention back? Yes, but there's a Scottish medium by the name of Gordon Smith who says something that I use a lot and keep in mind is that being grounded, the most important grounding that you do is in your everyday life, meaning that you don't sit down and do a grounding tree meditation, but that you live groundedly. That yes, there may be this extra sensory sensitivity, but you are in this world. Might not be of this world, but you are in this world, and we have to play the game and we have to participate. So that means we have to find a balance between having our spiritual pursuits and living this daily life experience and not neglecting one or the other, and that physical aspect of it encompasses that trinity or that triad of body, mind, and spirit. And so if you are wonderful in meditation and you're expanding in all your psychic awarenesses, but your finances are shit and your house is a mess, what good does that do you? If you can't function in your everyday life experience without being bombarded by messages and things of that nature, that's not a healthy state to be in. And when you open up psychically, clairvoyantly, mediumistically from an unhealthy state, eventually it's going to exacerbate all of the other imbalance in your life and will probably lead to some form of severe emotional or mental upset at some point in your life. So we have to be practical and grounded. Find things that you enjoy. Find things that help connect you to the physical reality. Exercise is incredibly grounding. Cleaning is incredibly grounding. Consciously breathing is incredibly grounding. Yoga is grounding. Yard work is grounding. Walking barefoot in nature is grounding. Books are grounding. Certain foods are grounding. But we have to find those activities that anchor us in the here and now, because true groundedness is being present. It's I'm aware and I acknowledge that there's this whole other unseen world around me, but I'm participating in this world simultaneously. And we're having a co-authorship or a co-creation or a co-collaboration to do what I need to do to be in alignment with my source and fulfill my divine purpose. This also kind of leads me to those same people who say, oh, I'm an empath, I can't go anywhere, I can't go out in public, that sort of thing, are the same people who say, I can't go anywhere without giving a message. I can't go anywhere without giving a reading or giving a message from a dead person. If this is the case, maybe it's encouraged by things like, Long Island Medium and some of these other TV shows. It's not appropriate and it's not professional. Bottom line, if you feel like you can't go somewhere without getting or giving some sort of a message or some sort of a reading or sharing some sort of a psychic perception, then you need to go back to the basics. You need to get back into a circle. You need to ground yourself. You need to readjust. You need to take a break and readjust your priorities. Because if that's the pattern, then it's not about spirit. It's become about you. Whether you want to admit it or not, whether you realize it or not, whether you're conscious of it or not, it's stemming from ego. We all have ego. I'm not an ego demonizer. But in the moment of the work, ego really need not be there, or at least to an incredibly small degree. We need an ego to some degree to be able to do what we need to do, have this experience where we're a seemingly separate individual. But it's not about you. And when that's the case, you're making it about you, because on some level, you're getting some sort of joy, you're getting some sort of satisfaction. People are very grateful. It's very easy to fall into the praise, the thanks that people give you, making them feel special. But you're gratifying yourself on some level. So stop it. So stop it and knock it off, and know that doesn't have to be your experience. Some of it comes from an unwillingness to see it, and some of it just comes from pure innocent ignorance. There are people who are doing psychic work. I think people start in clairvoyance and they jump to professional, or they jump to working publicly without having enough time and experience and cultivation with proper development. There's all of these classes and McDonald's microwave mediumship courses where you take a weekend workshop, then you get a certification and you hang your shingles, and in reality, opening up and developing psychically takes a minuscule amount of time. Opening up correctly, developing ethics, developing proper discernment, cultivating compassion, understanding the mind, understanding the self in order to be a clear channel, that takes years, that takes dedication, that takes persistence, that takes willingness to be wrong, that takes willingness to look at the shitty aspects of yourself. And it's something that we all continuously work on. And at some point, we may start working for other people, but too many people jump the gun, and what happens is they don't learn opening up and tuning down. I don't say opening up and shutting down, because if you are truly mediumistic or empathetic or clairvoyant or whatever you want to title or label yourself, you can't ever really turn it all the way off, and you can't ever really turn it all the way on. Sometimes people are afraid that they've worked at developing and opening up and making sense of it, so if they shut down, that they're not going to be able to turn it back on. And that's not the truth, because it's not something that can be taken away from you. It's a part of who you are. That's just not going to be your experience. It's always going to be there for you if it's truly what you are, what you do, what you're meant to do. But I don't think we can ever shut down completely. I don't think we can ever, worry that we're too open, unless we're leaving ourselves open all the time. And I know some people who do that. They leave themselves open all the time, but that's going to invite burnout. That's where you see these older mediums start to get diabetes and they start to stroke out, and it's, they've left themselves open all the time. It's like running constant electricity of too high voltage through, a 30-watt light bulb. Eventually the bulb is going to burn out because your body, which is interpreting these non-physical signals, is way too taxed. And so we have to learn to tone it down when we're not working and open it up when we are working. So for me, I used to have a hard time tuning down, opening up. When I knew that I was going to be seeing clients, I would work on, visual cues and triggers and stuff like that, prayers, meditations, visualizations to open it up. And then I'd work on, closing down and all of that sort of stuff, but I still felt sensitive in between. And it takes time. It does. It absolutely takes time and it takes practice. But I'm at a point now, and I think I'm at a point where everybody can get to, if you're not there already, where the minute you decide to work, you're on, and the minute you decide you're not working, you're off. And the two don't have to mix in the middle. So it's not that I'm psychically unaware. If something needs to get my attention, or if I need to tune into something, I absolutely can in an instant. But I'm not walking around Walmart picking up on, the lady in the groceries, dead grandmother, because I choose not to be. And so, that's my experience. If I'm not in the reading room, I'm really not super psychically aware, unless I want to be or choose to be, or something subtle catches my attention and I choose to turn into it, or choose to tune into it. And we can all get to that point. It just takes time, practice, discernment, grounding, and enforcing healthy boundaries. So, what are some other ways of enforcing boundaries? Well, we need to be assertive. We need to be able to speak our truth, which is hard for people like us because we can be people pleasers. But the other thing too is, I'm not dismissing the fact. So there are toxic people. There are some people whose energy just makes you go, ew. I'm around them, I feel drained. A lot of the New Age people like to call them psychic vampires because it sounds a lot cooler than just saying, hey, this person's toxic and emotionally draining. In that instance, we absolutely can want to avoid that person. That's understandable, and they can energetically affect us. But again, there's things that we can do. So, one, the more grounded we are on a day-to-day basis, the less affected we're going to be. But even if someone's energy is so chaotic that it's still affecting us, there are simple things we can do, like covering our solar plexus, slightly angling ourselves away from them, or a method that actually comes from Deborah Katz's book, The Extraordinary Psychic, that I've used a lot. And I don't know if it's super effective for me because I've never found any form of grounding, shielding, anything like that beneficial or effective. But the idea of a separation object, which is where you picture a symbol and you simply picture that between you and them as not that visualization or that object is magic. It's not a magic bubble. It's not that magic white light people talk about. But it's a anchor. It's a visual cue. It's a reminder to enforce your own sense of boundaries. That my energy does not pass this point. This person's energy does not pass this point. And oftentimes, too, if you are the type of person who has those healthy boundaries in the first place, those people who bothered you before, who naturally gravitated to you and your energy before, the poor me people, the energy suckers, they're not going to resonate with you anymore. So they're going to find that even if you are being courteous and engaging them on a social or verbal level, they're not getting the same saturation of your energy that they did before, and they'll get tired, they'll get bored, and they'll go find someone else to kind of sap on because it's easier for them to emotionally absorb from other people than to deal with their own issues and take care of themselves. So, I guess long story short, empathy is not a superpower. It's a human condition. Get grounded. It's not about you. Have healthy boundaries. Know yourself to develop your sense of discernment. So, again, agree with me if you want. Disagree with me if you want. I don't care. If you think that there's something that you want to share or something that I might be interested, in, whether it be research, study, materials, reference resources, whatever, if it's something that relates or something that you think might offer me a different perspective, I would be happy to take a look at it. I'm not trying to convince anyone of anything else, and I'm not trying to be convinced by anyone of anything else, but I'm absolutely open to learning different things and taking on different perspectives. So I hope you guys enjoyed these thoughts or these ramblings from my intuitive mind, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.